Welcome to the Psycho Babbler Meets, a podcast focusing on positive mental health and conquering the struggles of life. My name's Chris Sutton, and today I'm very lucky because I'm joined in our Leeds studio by one of my favourite people in the world. Don't panic. Nick of time. Nicola's girls shouldn't climb trees.
What?
And my favourite, you're nicked.
Great.
Have you not heard that? Nicola's girls shouldn't climb trees.
No.
If you've got a friend called
right.
if you've got a friend called Nicholas, that when you're at school and you say, Nicholas, girls shouldn't climb trees.
No, just in Wales, that one.
It must just be the Welsh. So, good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Chris.
So this is kind of the first episode of my new podcast, and you're my first guest. And we've done a podcast together before,
We
and
have.
I thought I'd introduce you to, invite you to be this first guest because you're kind of up to speed with what kind of rubbish I talk about, really.
I certainly am.
So, I like to do Chris's worry of the week, and just to get your opinion on this will be interesting.
Great.
Because this is quite a sad thing, and when we've had conversations before, you've said to me that you've been through periods of your life where you've struggled to go into shops, and you've had that anxiety of I don't know, some kind of mental block of doing that.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, I had the day to myself. I came into town and I thought, right, what shall I do? What shall I have for lunch? I won't just do something rubbish. But I like a burger. So I went to Five Guys.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I walked in to Five Guys, and there were quite a lot of people in there standing up over by like a food counter. And then there was a queue of people, and I'd never been in there before, and I didn't even know. I thought maybe it was table service. So basically I walked straight out. I was like,
Really?
can't cope with it. I was just like, I don't know what to do. And because I didn't know what to do, and like in normal day-to-day life, you know, talking to people is something that I know I can do. I have the ability to do it. But the fact that there was a person in a uniform essentially that I would have to go up to and say, how does it work? I just was like, I'm just going. So I walked out, went to Burger King. And I went and sat in Burger King, which is just rubbish. But I was so kind of down that I'd not managed to. I literally, that's got to be a kind of something symbolistic there, that I was going for this nice burger joint, and I ended up thinking, I'll just go to this one. And also, Burger King don't do milkshakes.
What?
I know. I literally said to the woman, "Are you kidding?" I was like, that's a slap in the face, isn't it?
I'm a 41-year-old man and I just want a burger and a milkshake.
Vanilla milkshake. And I was like, God. And then the burger came and it was like small. It was like a 50p piece size, and I was just like, oh God, this is depressing.
That's disappointing.
So yeah.
But I get that. Like, it's that not knowing what the process is. I hate it. Do you know when, this is funny, when you go to a new bus stop and you don't know which side people queue on. My bus, right, that I get home from work, there's a very specific queuing system, like the way that you queue around that bus stop. Everybody
Really?
knows the way that the queue goes, right, the direction. And I think that's because these are all regular people that get this bus, but every now and then someone that doesn't usually get that bus will get in the wrong part of the queue, and I think, oh, all these people are going to be really mad with you. And when I go to a bus stop that I don't usually use, I think, am I stood in the right place? Am I queuing in the right place? And it's the same with going into shops. You know, if you go into the co-op, my co-op near my mum's, you know where the queue goes. But if you go into a new co-op and you don't know which way the queue's supposed to go,
So
I panic.
It's exactly the same thing, isn't it?
Look
I
at
mean,
this
that's maybe you should get a laminate for your bus stop and you should hand it out to new people. Funnily enough, though, I know it's like we're rambling on a bit, but where I get the train in the morning, I know exactly where to stand, so where the door opens, and there's a guy that's just started getting that train that everyone else is stood there and waits for the train and then kind of is almost over polite. Oh no, after you. No, after you. this guy just kind of muscles in. He's like literally, it's 6:15 in the morning. You know, you are going to get a seat, mate. I guarantee it. You might get a whole carriage, but this guy is like literally, to get on first. And I really want to have a word with him, but
you need to teach him some ilkly etiquette.
But then, but that to me is like, who's got the issue there, me or him? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a seat too, aren't I? So why does it matter that this guy's impatient or whatever? So many things.
Not very British, is it? Not to queue.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's. I was once waiting. I remember going on a course of work. Actually, it was like one of those Go Ape things, like with work, like a team bonding thing. And we were in the woods, and then we were going to get a coach to go back to the hotel or whatever, and people formed a queue. We were stood in the woods. We were on a queue ready to get on the coach. And I remember looking at it going, we are so British, it's just not true. So anyway, that was my worry of the week, was you go in there, and I was thinking, but it made me think, because I was thinking from their perspective, Five Guys, I was thinking, you should have a sign up saying how it works. But then it got me thinking about things like that. You're saying about the bus stop. And I remember hearing about this once. This is a random thought. If you buy toothpaste, it doesn't tell you what to do. There's no instructions. You check it out when you go home. I don't think there's instructions on toothpaste.
Like, how specific do you want those instructions to be? Because it tells you what size blob you need to put on.
Does it?
Yeah, because it says for under whatever age pea-sized.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are instructions.
I don't think it says to you, you put it on your toothbrush and then you put the toothbrush in your mouth. But then again, everyone brushes the teeth differently, Chris.
And wrongly. I went to the dentist last week, and the dentist said to me, you're over-brushing. Your gums are receding because you're over-brushing. And I was like, oh, this is too confusing.
Do you wet your toothbrush before you put your toothpaste on?
Yes.
See, some people don't do that.
Well, and I was
They're
also
the
told,
people that you want to watch out for.
Yeah, you got to watch these people. They should wear signs. Bastards. But the dentist said to me, all you're doing when you're brushing your teeth is brushing off like any kind of food stuff, because you're not actually trying to clean them. You're just trying to. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a whole different thing. But I need to check it out now. Maybe it's different brands. I'm sure I've heard someone talking about the fact that there's no instructions on toothpaste, as if everyone just knows how it works. And you kind of think, dentists do say a lot of people don't know how to brush properly. Maybe there should be instructions.
Maybe there should.
Yeah.
Have you tried getting in with an NHS dentist?
It's easy where I live, to be fair.
It's not where I live.
I can only apologise for that. Yeah. Right. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is when you do. Have you heard of this 5 ways to well-being thing? And one of them is about serving others. And I want to take it a little bit of a step further and just talk about how hard or easy it is to be nice. So we've introduced it quite well, actually, with these things. So the guy that pushes in front to get on the train, people at your bus stop, how easy or hard is it for you to be in a nice frame of mind, or to be kind to them about the fact that perhaps they've never done it before, or is it a societal problem, or is it an individual problem? So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I wanted to talk about. What does it mean to you to be nice?
Oh, interesting question. I like to think of myself as quite a polite person, right? My mum has brought me up to have very good manners, and it's just the little things in it. Like, if you see someone struggling with the shopping, offer to help them carry it, stuff like that. Like, courteous, letting people get on the bus before you, so if there's an elderly person, or when I've got the pram, people generally tend to let me get on the bus first with the pram so that there's space for me to put it. It's little things like that, just little everyday situations that you come across. just being polite and courteous in those situations, I think that gets you a long way, and it gets everybody else a long way as well.
Right, I love it. I love that last bit you said there, because that's part of what I wanted to focus on a little bit, which is what your motivation is around being nice. That's the thing. So if psychologically we're saying that being nice to other people and people being nice to you is a good way to live, then what is it we're getting out of it? Is it, what kind of sensation, what feeling are you getting? What are you getting from it? What's the point? Why be nice to each other? Incidentally, the thing I like about nice is I used to go out with someone who used to hate the word nice, and even though this is like 20 years ago probably now, I like the idea that I'm having a conversation now about this word nice. Because she used to say, like, oh, it's such an insipid word. I had to Google that. In fact, I probably didn't have Google in those days. I had to look it up.
Get a dictionary out.
I had to buy a dictionary to work out, like, and it is quite a bland thing, like way of describing things. But at the same time, I think nice is a good thing to be, isn't it?
I love this. One of my best friends, who I lived with at uni, she uses the word nice all the time, and we used to just proper laugh at her about it, because she'd use nice for everything. So, do you know if, like, for example, you tried a dress on and she didn't really like it, she'd go, oh yeah, it's nice. And then if she was eating the best meal of her life, she'd be like, oh, it's nice. It's like, come on, think of a better adjective that you use nice for everything. And it's like, it can mean, I'm not really sure about that, but I'm going to say it's nice because I'm a nice person, and that's what she's like. Or nice was like the best thing in the world for her.
So was there a difference in her tone of voice? Like, could you tell from, oh, that's nice? Or was it, oh, that's nice. And that's a nice dress. And that's a nice meal.
Well, that's definitely not how she talks, but there was a bit of a difference in her tone. It's a funny word, isn't it? Because it is a bit boring.
Oh, well, I'm going to have someone on the podcast, not that she knows this yet, because I haven't asked her to do it, but called Viv Buckland, who is an expert in neurolinguistical programming, and also about it's really like looking at how we communicate with each other. She's really into how communication works, and that the actual words you say, it's some ridiculously low percentage, like only 30% of the message comes across in words, and it's like 60% is in the tone of voice and the way you say it. So I saw this comedian once. He said, he said, you can say, the way you say things is really important. Like, you go, oh, is that your daughter? Or you could go, is that your daughter? Like, it's the same words, but it like means something completely different the way you say it. So it's like, yeah, it is, fascinating. But getting off the subject though. So, when people are nice to you, how does it make you feel?
It just makes me feel like the world...
Nice?
No, not nice. Like, the world's... I was just going to say, the world's a nice place. Like, the world's a better place, because you just think, oh, everything is actually fine. The majority of these people are good.
So tell me about... Obviously, we're a little bit obsessed with Colby's Coffee in here. I'm just thinking, because there's an example I know about in your life that's happened this morning. So tell me about Ali this morning, because I'm assuming Ali from Colby's would have been nice to you this morning.
He was nice. So I went in to Colby's.
What time?
5 minutes before it actually opened. He let me in early because I had my little boy with me, still in his pyjamas because I'd left the house really early and I didn't want to wake him up. So he let us in 5 minutes early, and then he came straight over, turned the radiators on where we were sitting so the baby didn't get cold.
I knew it.
He did. He's great in it. Come over with a choice of apple juice or orange juice for the baby and let him pick which one he wanted. And then he said, "Oh, you'd take the other one for later."
Aww.
Like, didn't charge me for them.
Oh,
I know. I was like, it was just really nice.
So it's a perfect example then. So how were you feeling 6 minutes before they were supposed to open compared to 10 minutes later.
I was feeling a bit like I'm a bit of a cheeky cow standing out here trying to get in 5 minutes early before they've even opened, and I was like, oh, I've got so much to do this morning. I need to get the baby in, get his breakfast. Hope to God that he actually sits down and doesn't run around causing chaos.
With all those other customers.
He was dead good. He was just sat at his chair eating his tea cake. But then you come in and Ali's just nice, and it starts your day.
And did it
Relaxed.
change? So it changed your state of mind.
It did, yeah.
So being nice to people changes. I really sound like I'm leading you now. I don't mean to, but are we saying that being nice, when someone is nice to you, it essentially has the power to change your state of mind?
Yeah, it does, and I think it can change your day, right? Do you know when you go into a shop and the person that serves you in the shop is really polite, and maybe has a bit of a conversation with you, or the attitude that they have towards you?
Mm-hmm.
I think that always makes a massive difference to me, because then I'll leave and I'll be in a good mood and I'll think, oh, what a lovely person that's just served me. And I'm quite one of these people, do you know, if I go to a restaurant or whatever and I get good service and they're really polite, and particularly now that I've got my little boy, because obviously kids can be a pain in the arse in restaurants, and I'm always really conscious of the people around me and thinking, oh, he's being really loud or he's really getting on everyone's nerves. Which I shouldn't be, because kids, and he's not naughty or anything. He's like,
no,
he's
just
a
being
lovely
kid,
little boy.
yeah.
He's just that's how kids are, and so I'm always one of these, that'll leave a review for the restaurant and things if people have made me feel welcome and just been nice people. I'm a big believer in that.
See
Giving
that
feedback when you get nice service.
Even though it's on perhaps a different level to what I was thinking about, that is essentially serving others as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
literally that's your job as serving others. So I know I talk about coffee shops too much, but on O2 Priority you get your free Cafe Nero, yeah?
You do, yeah. I've started using that now because you told me about it.
Ali's listening, sorry Ali.
God, I feel like a traitor. I only go because it's free.
And I only go when Colby's is closed.
Do you know what?
I only go on Sundays.
This morning, I got into town at 6:15, right? And Colby's didn't open until 7 or 5 to 7 if you're a loyal customer. And I was thinking, I know that there'll be a Starbucks and a Cafe Nero open somewhere, and instead of going to them, I walked round for an extra 40 minutes, just took a little stroll around town, because I was like, I can't, I'm too loyal to Colby's, because I know that when I go into Colby's it's not going to be a problem that I've got my kid in his pyjamas still with me.
This is a perfect example, really, because that is it. So in terms of saying someone being nice to you and that serving of others and how you serve someone, even if it's your profession, actually in that instance has had such an impact on you that you have spent 40 minutes with with your child in the cold and in the dark.
He was wrapped up.
I've seen him. He was fine. He had his George Pig from Peppa Pig pyjamas on. And a coat.
Thanks.
And slippers. He was fine. But anyway, loyalty. So that is inspiring loyalty. And the thing I was going to say about going into Cafe Nero is it makes sense to me why they've done that loyalty thing or not loyalty thing, why they've given that freebie away, because you go in and it does inspire loyalty. And for me, that inspired loyalty for quite a long time. I was thinking, they're making their money's worth out of me, because this is before Colby's open, to be fair, because I now go into Cafe Nero as my place of choice. And then when I have like a boys' date with my son once a week, and we go to Cafe Nero in town, in a different in the place where I live, and there are other places that I could go to, but I go because of that. And the last 3 times I've been in there, it's been rubbish. The service has been awful. The drinks have been like half full, where it's just all full of froth rather than it being the actual drink. And I was thinking, why am I coming in here? Like, what? And literally, so I'm going to stop going in there. And I'm sure there are other Cafe Neros that are fine, but it makes that difference to how that person behaves and how they treat you and how they look at you. So like the deal on Saturday when I was in there was like on this voucher on my phone was, if you bought any pastry, you got coffee free. So the coffee's like £3, the pastry's £1.60. I'll have a pan of chocolate, please. Like, it just makes economic sense. So I did that, and the girl's face that she was going to have to try and work this out was just like, oh, her shoulders dropped. She was like, then she had to go and get someone because she didn't know how to do it. And I was thinking, if you don't know how to do it, that's fine. But this is your job, for one thing. But it's the fact that they're not understanding about the customer, if you like. Now, I know we're talking about a professional. No, go on, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, that brings it to an interesting point, because I think if the customer before you was a bit of an arse, then she may well have been in a really good mood, and then that person, because they've not been nice to her, that's changed her day, or changed her 10 minutes or whatever, and as a result of that, you've ended up with someone who's shrugging their shoulders and a bit miserable, and that might not have been the case, but I think that's the flip side to it, when people aren't nice to you, and when you don't get that good service, or when, like I was saying about getting on the bus, if someone pushes in front of me when I'm getting on with the pram, it puts me in a really foul mood. I think, how rude is that? Like, you can see that I'm stood here trying to get on, and you're barging in front of me with absolutely no regard to me needing to get my baby onto a bus, and it changes how you.
So this is right. So getting a little bit deeper into the psychology of that. For me, there's a thing there about ownership of your emotions. Because when I was off work with depression, and I did a lot of research into, I was criticised actually by a therapist by trying to intellectualise my way out of depression. They were saying that's not possible. You can't, learn all about it and then do a test and you'll feel fine. It's just not how it works. But I ignored that and tried to read loads of stuff anyway, which I'm glad I did. It was interesting. But one of the things it says is, when something negative does happen to you, it's really, cheesy's the wrong word, but I don't know, there's something just that doesn't sit quite right with me about this, but I do understand it. When someone does something negative, you think of it as a gift. It's an opportunity for you to look at it in a different way. That's the bit I struggle with, is thinking about these things as a gift. And you're like, but the example you just said, when someone barges in front of you, that is your opportunity to say, wow, they must be having a really difficult day. I'll give them a break, rather than that's really put me in a bad mood. And I reckon the second one is the more natural reaction for someone in our society. But I feel like, and I'm talking about myself here as well, I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about people in general. I feel like you've got, that's the state underneath that you're just waiting for it to be activated. It's ready to go. I am ready to be in a bad mood. I'm ready to be irritated, rather than having this state underneath, which wouldn't it be wonderful if you could be thinking, I feel like a monk saying this, like, I'd like to be a monk that would be able to act like this, that would just go, oh, poor guy, hope things get better for him today. I met a monk
on the bus the other day, I told you, didn't I?
Tell me about the monk.
Oh, he was really nice.
Did you actually talk to him?
Yeah, he come and sat next to me at the bus stop, and there's two different buses, one that's kind of a bit of an extended route that goes further, and one that stops in the town where I live, and I have to get on the extended one. And he was asking me where it went, and the street where he needed to go to. I said, oh, I used to live on that street. I said, yeah, you need to get on the same one as me. And he said, can I sit with you on the bus? And I said, yeah, that's fine. So he sat, and he was telling me his life story. He was a really nice bloke. He was quite old. He was retired. And he had just a really interesting life, and he'd been in a monastery down south somewhere, down south of Yorkshire, which is down south.
Not Burma.
He'd lived in a monastery for 10 years, and he was just very interesting, and that was like nice to sit and have a chat with someone on the bus.
I love that. I love. Yeah.
I know you do with your trained friends.
No, but I mean, I like having. This is why I want to do this podcast. I like meeting different people. There's an irony there for what I was saying earlier about the not wanting to go into a burger place and talk to someone new because I'd be embarrassed that I didn't know what to do. But actually, I do have a naturally inquisitive kind of. I like talking to people. I like meeting new people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, you're not going to go into a burger place and say, "So, where did you grow up?"
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
person serving your burger.
And you know, so I like having those conversations with people from different backgrounds. And so, what was he wearing?
Oh, he was wearing a suit actually. He wasn't dressed like a monk. I only found out
He
that
just
he
told
used to
you
be
he
a
was-
monk. Yeah, because he told me.
Oh right. Okay.
But no, he was wearing a suit.
What? That is a
actually.
leap. I see. I thought you were talking about like this. There was a guy in orange robes.
No.
And I was going to ask you where he keeps his wallet. But no. So that's quite a leap to just sit next to someone and say, "I used to be a monk."
Yeah, well, it didn't quite start like that. We were having a conversation because he'd moved to the same place where I live, and I'd moved to a few years ago. And he was saying, "Oh, what do you think of it?" and blah blah blah. And he was telling me that his neighbours were really nice because he was a widower. Is it a widower when it's a joke?
A widower, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs good neighbours.
His partner, great. His partner had died a few years back. I think this actually was before he went to the monastery. If I remember rightly, and then he was telling me that he'd moved to Leeds on his own as a retired man.
How long was this bus journey?
Oh, it's about 45 minutes.
I mean, that's fine. You don't
And
need
his
to tell me the whole
neighbours
thing.
were
but-
taking him bacon butties round and things like that, and he was saying that it was lovely and he felt really welcome. But no, this story does have a point. It's that again, isn't it, about doing nice things for your neighbours,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
being
Yeah.
neighbourly.
Can monks eat pork?
Not sure. But the gesture was nice anyway. You might have put it in the
I
bin.
used to bring around bacon sandwiches. I'd take the bacon out, just eat the bread. Yeah, no, but neighbours are massively important, aren't they? It's great. It's if you've got a good set of neighbours, it changes your world because like we're saying about interactions with people and someone being nice to you then changes your state. When you've got people that live close by to you, it gives you that sense of security. And my neighbour brings my bin in and takes my bin out all the time. Like, really.
Tom next door does that for us as well. Tom's
Well,
great.
Ben next door to me.
No, let me tell you
Let's
what.
have a neighbour off.
Actually, my neighbour last night, this is a good one. A lady that's moved across the road from me, she works at the local children's centre, and I used to take my little boy there before I came back to work on a Wednesday afternoon. And I just didn't realise this, but they take loads of pictures while you're there and stuff. And I knew that they printed them out, but I never really knew where they went and stuff. And it turns out they make you a little portfolio book. And never knew about this, haven't been to that children's centre for a long time, but she works there, this neighbour, and when it's a new estate, so we both moved in around the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I remember you from the children's centre. Anyway, last night, she knocked on the door, I was upstairs, my partner answered, and she'd brought this portfolio over that I didn't even know existed, and they've cut all the pictures out and put the dates on them and stuck them all into this book.
They've dated
and it's
it?
got it's got all pictures in that he'd like drawn and painted, which were all obviously a bit naff because he was like 9 months old, but they're all folded up and stuck in there.
Advanced for his age, I'm sure.
Yeah. Come and dropped it off at my house, and it was really cute. All these little tiny pictures when he was
This
a
is it.
baby, and it
Right.
was so nice, and it put me in such a good mood. And I thought, oh, that was lovely. She'd obviously gone to work that day. I'd seen him in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I took a parcel in for her. I dropped a parcel off in the morning. When she'd gone to work that day, she thought, oh, I'll dig out his learning portfolio.
You took a parcel in for her. You see, that's it. It's being
Oh,
nice.
and this is when we're talking about the motivation for being nice. I think I have various motivators, but one of them actually is karma is what people would probably call it, but I'm not particularly religious, so I don't want to like mug off a religious word, but it's that idea that if you do something good things will come back to you. And I don't think that should be the sole purpose for being nice. You should be nice for the sake of making other people feel happy and get that feeling that I got yesterday when she dropped that book off for me. But on top of that, just wanting to make people feel happy, for me it is about if you do good things come back around. What goes around comes around, that's what Jane used to say.
So the
That's my mum.
all right, I was thinking. I thought you said Jamie.
No, Jane.
Janie. Hi, Jane. I think it goes. I was going to say I think it goes a little something like this, but I think that's the start of. I'm not going to start
Check
going
this
into
out.
Run DMC. I've got my turtle shell trainers on with my suit today. So, part of me thinks, okay, there will be people that are nice to other people for the reasons that, so that other people are nice back to them. Which you could suggest that is for selfish reasons or karmic reasons. There are other people that are nice to people because they are just those kind of pure, or apparently appear to be those pure-souled type of people that just really genuinely care and want to be nice to others. My point is, before you jump in, does it matter? Doesn't really matter, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It's like the fact of the matter is that when you are nice to someone, that's why my first question to you was, how does it feel when someone's nice to you? And we've kind of come. I wasn't planning this, but the way we've talked about this is that we've kind of understood, or we've agreed with one another that it can change your state in a positive fashion, and that's so by being nice to others, you assume that's happening to them too. And that's because that's what happens to you. So if that's creating positivity and people being in a better place, therefore spreading it to being nice to other people, does the motivation actually matter?
No, it doesn't actually, does it?
Doesn't, I guess, and the only way you'd even question it is if you were judging yourself, really, or if someone were judging you. Because you would want to come across as, oh no, I'm doing that just out of the goodness of my heart. I'm not doing it. So, go on.
I think with some people, that they really are being nice and doing nice things for others, completely for the benefit of them. I've got an auntie who is
real auntie,
right? Who is forever running around after other people, like doing nice things for other people all the time. She's just such a lovely lady. But she runs herself into the ground doing nice things for other people. And so she's not doing that because she feels good about it, because she ends up absolutely shattered because she's constantly making a flapjack for such a body and dropping it off at their house, which just cost her money, time, and then she's going somewhere else to do this for that person, and then she'll go shopping. And she used to just do random things like she'd go shopping and she'd buy me like some like pretty new underwear, or this is like talking when I was probably, I don't know, at school. Or she'd see like a nice t-shirt that she'd think, oh, Nicola would like that, and she'd just put it in an envelope and post it through the door. And like, cause she was that busy running round, and you'd get this little envelope and you think, oh, Auntie Chris has dropped a present off for me. But she didn't come into your house and go, here's a present for you, and want to see your reaction and want you to go, oh, thank you so much, that's so kind of you. She'd literally just post it through your door and run off to do something nice for the next person. So she wasn't doing it for that, like,
you do wonder what the what's happening underneath there, though, or I do. I wonder if there is a kind of, no, I'm not criticising her and saying this at all. I'm thinking I've got someone in my mind that's in like one of my family members, and they race around doing stuff for other people all the time. But I worry that, like, if I do that, for example, I worry if I try and look at it from my perspective, if I were acting in that way, am I doing it because of my low self-esteem? Because I'm like, right, if I do all these other things, they'll make me feel better about myself. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, it's not a criticism. It's like because you're spreading that positivity, but there's got to be a tipping point there somewhere where if you're doing something because your motivation, yes, it's good you're being nice to someone else, but your motivation may be actually that it's building you as well. It's helping you as well. There's got to be a tipping point to, yes, it's helping you as well, but then you're doing it so much that the negative of you overdoing it outweighs the positive of you doing it in the first place. Do you see what I mean? If you're going around 24/7 making flapjacks and things like that, then you're actually going to burn yourself out and be in a worse place than if you just kind of cut back, if you like.
Mm.
So I think there's a balance, isn't there? You can go over the top and kind of spend your whole life treating others, giving them treats as opposed to just being nice to them, if you like, just being there for them. And yeah,
I think where it is for her is that she likes people to know she's thinking about them and she's not forgotten about them, which is why if she's not got time to come in and have a brew, she'll just like post something nice in the letterbox. Yeah. She's such a dream. She's
as long as
such
she's
a
not
lovely
going
person.
as long as she's not going over the top, and I'm worried about her.
Oh, she's so cute.
There is the lady I work with. You know her too. We'll call her Jane for the purpose of this. And for the last couple of years for Lent, she's not that she's not nice the rest of the year, because she is, but for Lent she makes sure she does a good deed every day for the 40 days leading up to Easter.
Aww.
But it's really funny watching her go through it, because she so some days she'll bring flowers into the office just to brighten people's day. I remember she's given blood. She would just go and buy a coffee and give it to a homeless person. She'd do something every day. But it's quite funny because you can see her some days going, I don't know what to do today, and it kind of stresses. She gets a bit stressed by it. What can I do today? It's not like she's thought about it for 6 months and planned out. Right, this is what I'm going to do on each of the days. She gets up in the morning and it becomes like a chore. So there's a really interesting thing there. But she's doing it because I think she understands the fact that, she says, well, I should be doing this all year round. It should just be a normal thing. But because this is a kind of set thing that people do, or usually people give up. That's why it's an amusing thing. I'm giving up being miserable. I'm gonna be nice to people for 40 days. She's also one of my favourite people, and you'll know who I'm talking about now, because she's got, I think it's like 7 siblings, and she said to me, she said, yeah, I got seven brothers and sisters, and all our names start with R. And I went, but your name's Jane? And she went, yeah, but I'm our Jane. That's our Terry. That's our Nicola.
Do you know what you're on about?
Oh, don't worry about it. The fact that it was more that was really funny. It was more that you were supposed to laugh at that point, not go, who are you talking about?
I'm still thinking about who that might be.
Tell you afterwards. I wish I knew how to edit. Right, so in terms of changing the way you live your life then, in terms of serving others. So we talked about serving others in terms of physically, like literally being at work, and that being your job is that you're in customer service and you serve people on a daily basis. You can talk about the fact that people who work for like local government or in the public sector, they are serving the
public servants, yes.
Yeah, public servants. So, but there is also this thing, and I think it's also part of like the 12-step program of like Alcoholics Anonymous, and that is about giving your life over to serving other people. So almost, I think I've never read about it, so I don't know anything other than that. But I think it is one of the steps. But there's something about the fact that we're a collective. We're all the same, and we all need help from time to time, if not all the time. And that actually it's a way of life is to think, right, well, what can I do in any given situation to help someone else, to serve someone else? So what do you think of that? And have you ever thought about living your life in that way, if you don't already?
What do you mean I do already? That is how I live. I'd like to live like that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Why? Because
I think, like we were saying, it'll make me feel good about myself. Maybe just 90% of the time, or maybe a bit less actually. Not all the time, because I think you've got to. You can't, like we were just talking about my auntie, you can't devote your whole life to serving others, because I think you can forget about yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And alright, yeah, while you might be feeling good in yourself for what you're doing for other people, you've got to do more than that for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to have that time.
I mean,
to treat yourself as well as treating other people nicely. But what you're talking about us all being a collective, and I think the happiest people that I've met are the people that do things for others. You know, if you don't, and I think you're at risk of sort of becoming a bit lonely and a bit insular, and not having that sort of relationship with the rest of the world, if you like. But
that insular was actually the word that was in my head when you just said that.
I'm actually a mind reader.
Yeah, no, that's good that we're on the same wavelength. A little scary
no,
for
it's
you.
Not.
But so, like, for example, the two of us worked really hard on putting together, setting up or relaunching, as it was, a peer-to-peer support group, didn't we, for people with mental health problems?
We did.
And we didn't do that for any reason. So when I went back to work after being off with depression, through whatever means, I ended up being in a position where I could be part of this relaunching of this group, and then I got you involved in that as well. My motivation behind that was there wasn't a single part of me doing that for myself, if you like. My motivation for it. It was all about what can other people get out of this, genuinely. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think it's the best example in my world that I can think of, is that I had no idea how much I would get out of that, and how much it would change me, and how much it would build my confidence around things. To the point where now, in some respects, I kind of question what my current motivations are for the same things. I'm still involved in that group, we both are. And I keep trying to strip it back to that original thing of no, actually, this was all about just for people to help one another. But my point being, that group gets together once a month, and we introduce a subject around mental health. So healthy relationships, for example, is a subject. And then after we've introduced the subject, played a video, whatever, we give people that time to talk to one another and to just share their experiences, if they want to, in a safe environment where they know they're not going to be judged. And the feedback is overwhelming, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's overwhelmingly positive to what people are getting out of having that. So it's a different thing, but for one thing, that peer-to-peer support and actually talking about it and sharing experiences is incredibly powerful for people. But secondly, when you're one of the people that has facilitated that, and set that up, and initiated that, and I know this is for the benefit of listeners rather than you, because I know you've heard me say this on numerous occasions. Every time I run one of those sessions, I have a moment where I look up, I look around the room, and people are laughing and smiling, and they're engrossed in conversation, and they're sharing things, and I think, no matter what, even though they're all doing that now for themselves, it wouldn't be happening if I hadn't taken that first step. And that's something that will always stick with me, And so that serving others, that example is probably the best thing I've got in terms of, wow, I genuinely wasn't doing it for myself, but I've got a ridiculous amount out of it.
Yeah, and it wasn't your motivation to get anything out of it yourself. That was just a happy byproduct, if you like. I had that same thing that you're talking about at the last of those sessions that I ran. We do a 10-minute breathing meditation at the end. Mm-hmm. And I struggle to meditate personally in a room full of people. I don't know if that goes back to my social anxiety about not having my eyes closed in a room full of people, because it makes me really nervous. Yeah. I always, interestingly at school or in assembly or whatever, always had to sit at the back of the classroom in the corner so I could see everything that was going on.
Really?
Because if anyone was sat behind me, I'd get really paranoid. So I think that's why I can't close my eyes in public.
Yeah.
I don't blink all day.
Terrifying. It's terrifying.
But I was sort of trying to meditate, but eyes were opening and closing, and obviously I'm always really, because I'm running the group, always really nervous. What if the fire alarm goes off? I need to be in the room to deal with things. But at one point I opened my eyes and I looked around the room, and there was about 25 people sat there all meditating, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm so proud almost that we've been able to get 25 people in the world that we're in the
Yeah.
working world
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we're in, sitting in a room and meditating for 10 minutes
Yeah.
in this building.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a
Well, yeah,
that's the right word.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I couldn't agree with you more.
So I know exactly what you're saying when you say you got that feeling, and like you say, that's not your motivator. It's just a happy byproduct that it also makes you feel good.
So from there, what it makes me think is, like if you do something and it makes you feel good, why not do it some more? You know what I mean? And I mean, on an individualistic basis, you could go down the hedonism route of, I really like being drunk, so I'm just going to get drunk all the time or whatever. Like, but I don't mean it in terms of that. I mean, if for something like this, if you're talking about something that you've really got some kind of pride. For one thing, it's hard work as well, and there's definitely an element of if you work hard, at the time it might feel like a grind, but when you then see the product of that is something positive, you get more out of it because you've kind of suffered a bit, if you like. You've given some of yourself to it. But if ultimately the thing that you get out of it is an ongoing kind of sense of achievement and pride and positivity, then I'm kind of like, hang on, we'll do it more then. So from there, it's like, well, what's the next step? And in fact, this podcast for me is like is a next step around that, because one of the things that I've come to realise as I've then been invited to go and speak at events around the city, like about mental health. People are like, oh, that guy that works for them, he's really open about his mental health and he's quite engaging and can be quite funny, even though he's talking about a difficult subject. I know only one person said that, but that's what we're going to put on the flyer.
Who said you were funny?
My
mum.
Yeah, thanks, Mum. Imagine
that on your business card.
Yeah.
He is really funny.
He's a wonderful young boy.
5 stars.
5 stars. Yeah. So, still counts. Still counts. Some people would say your parents are your harshest critics. So it does make, yes, people who've been positive about it, and again, yes, I sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet. I've been nominated for an award, like around services for mental health in the city, like because of this group, and the fact of that is, it has demonstrated to me that the way that, or I've been told that the way that I can talk about mental health is different to a lot of people. And people engage with it. So the kind of podcast idea was born out of that, in the kind of, right, well, actually, how can I reach a wider audience? And fair enough, there might be 3 people listening to this right now, but the idea being that if I can grow this into something, then maybe it can help other people. But my motivation, again, is around how can I reach an even wider audience? How can I do that? And the way that social media is now, there is a platform that can enable you to do it if you can get it in the right place at the right time, or the right person giving you the recommendation or whatever, and all of a sudden it might be able to help other people. So listening to a podcast like this very one we're doing now about being nice to people hopefully you might get some people think, well, I'd never thought of that. Actually, if kindness breeds kindness, and actually it can mean I'm in a more positive frame of mind, well, maybe I'll give it a go. Maybe I'll try to that whole fake it till I make it thing.
Yeah. We did this at the support group, do you remember? And we asked everyone to go away and do something kind for someone else. We talked about random acts of kindness.
Yeah.
And I think, do you remember? And I was leaving post-it notes on everybody's screens.
Oh yeah,
in the office
I got
saying
one.
nice things about them.
And genuinely,
And it cheers people up, doesn't
I
it?
can't remember what it said, but I had you put one of them on my computer, on my screen. It said, so I came back from a meeting or whatever, and I sat down, and there was a post-it. I picked it up, and it said, "Chris, you are," and then there were some positive things written on there, and it was it was a really lovely kind of positive kind of shot in the arm of like, oh wow, that's really cool. So what kind of things can people do if they want to try and serve others then? It's not always the easiest thing to do to say, everyone go out there and start up a peer-to-peer support group.
But I disagree. I think it's one of the easiest things in the world to do, because going back to what I first said about what is being nice, it's the very start of that is being polite and courteous to other people.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, go out and change the world today. You don't have to go and start a peer-to-peer support group. You don't have to go and volunteer in a third world country. You can hold a door open for someone. You can let someone get on the bus in front of you.
Yeah.
You can buy a coffee for a homeless person. You know what I mean? You can do things that don't cost you any money.
I love it.
And that don't really actually take you any time. You can stick a post-it note on someone's computer. Like, it does not take a lot of time out of your life.
That random acts of
hard.
kindness, that's a really cool thing, actually. Because it is quite easy. It is quite... doesn't even take a lot of time some of the time. Did I ever tell you about we were talking about Cafe Nero getting a free drink? Did I ever tell you about when I gave one of those to a homeless person? I went in and got my free Cafe Nero drink, and I was stood there. It was a bit of a weird thought process, because I was thinking, what would a homeless person want to drink? And I was really stood there thinking, I was really trying to work out cappuccino, latte. Anyway, I think I just got a cappuccino, and I mean, maybe stupidly, I gave it to the first person I came across who was sat near to Cafe Nero. I gave him this drink and he went, bloody hell, I got two of them now. I was like, oh. Someone else had clearly had the same idea. But it was like, well, I don't need this drink or don't want this drink, but it's there, it's available for me to get it, give it to someone else,
Yeah.
The other thing is volunteering. That's one of the things that I've had my eyes open to. And you've done volunteering in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a bit. I've always enjoyed it. And again, it's that thing of doing things for other people, for organisations, for the environment, whatever. But you can't do that and not get anything out of it for yourself. And like I say, going back to that, it's not necessarily my motivation for the things that I've done, but it's a good byproduct of it, and I think it's really, really helped me, particularly when I was younger. And we've talked before about my social anxiety and how I particularly struggled during my teenage years, and it was around the same time that I started doing a lot of volunteering.
Yeah.
And it was things like helping out with community groups. As I got sort of older, I used to run groups for younger people than myself, for younger children, and yeah, I got a lot out of that. But it's also really nice just to see the difference that makes to others.
Were there any barriers you faced in terms of how because one of the things I've always thought about volunteering, so I do some volunteering, and I get loads out of it, and I was doing it to. I'm on the independent visitor scheme, where I have that. It's like a befriending scheme of a child who's in care, and I meet up with him once a month and take him out to the cinema, or we kick a ball about, whatever. And I was doing it because, literally for the child. And again, the same thing happened, where I look forward to those times, and get loads out of it and have a really good time. Same as mentoring. I mentored a couple of people through work, and again thought I was doing it for them, and ended up getting loads out of it because I see the world from a different perspective, kind of thing. But some of the barriers, if you've got any anxiety issues, are how do you find these groups, and how do you actually go in the first place? So for those of you listening that are thinking, well, I just couldn't do that. You can, and most people in these environments are going to be nice to you. They're going to be friendly to you.
Yeah.
You're there. You're helping them, so they're grateful. The organisations. I mean.
Yeah, I found that for my anxiety, my social anxiety, volunteering genuinely was the best thing that I ever could have done. I got into volunteering through a really brilliant organisation in Cheshire called the Youth Federation. And I knew I lived nearby to a youth worker who got me involved in a group, basically, a group of sort of young people. I was probably about 12 at the time. And as a result of starting going to that group, I got involved in more and more opportunities. And at those different groups and those different activities that I used to go and do, and different fundraising events, and I was a completely different person. I felt so confident, and I was able to overcome so many barriers.
Wow.
Yet put me with a group of my peers, my friends from school.
Yeah.
And I was sort of nervous. Like I say, I couldn't go into shops. I couldn't go into, I don't know, like I was telling you once about when everyone was going into a pub, and I couldn't go into that pub. I stood outside crying. Yet all the volunteering that I used to do, I remember at one point being asked, and I was probably only about 14, to speak at the Youth Federation's AGM, in front of a room full of hundreds of people, about the different volunteering opportunities that I'd been involved with through the organisation, what I'd got out of it.
Yeah.
And I stood up at 14 and spoke in front of hundreds of people.
Amazing.
But I couldn't have stood up and spoken in front of my friends like that from
Yeah,
school. I couldn't
yeah.
have done that in a school assembly. And it genuinely, it sounds dead cheesy, but it really did change my life, getting involved in that organisation and all those opportunities. And I've said this to you before, I don't think that I'd be where I am today had I not been involved in all of that.
Yeah.
And that, the power of volunteering for me is
It
like
ticks a
right
lot of the
there.
boxes. It ticks a lot of the kind of mental health checklist type things of, you know, it's not only serving others or helping others, but that also is about having relationships. You know,
Yeah.
So you have new friendships. You meet other people. You're getting out and about, so you're physically doing a little bit of exercise at least, because you're not just sitting on the sofa in your house. It ticks a lot of boxes. But the difficult thing, the barrier, I would say, is that first step of getting out there and doing it, or find the opportunity, but then to actually go and do it. So, but there's two of us here. You know, it's 100% of us that think it's a great idea and really helps people. There's just a couple more things and then we'll wrap this up. But I've in my prep for this, I've put down here about being nice by connecting with people. We just talked about that. But I think when people are struggling, if you know someone that's struggling, or if you are struggling yourself, reach out to someone you know. Reach out to a dozen people you know. Just make sure that you try to own the fact that you have the opportunity to connect with others. I know there are some people that don't have anybody, and that's really difficult. So find one of these groups that you can go and become part of. Go and volunteer somewhere to actually try and have a group, so you have a kind of social network, if you like. I have a friend that I'm talking to quite a lot at the moment on quite a regular basis because he's struggling. And we're both getting a lot out of the fact that we're kind of there for each other, if you like. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met, just being himself. Because I remember I met this guy when I was at university in Bournemouth, and a lot of people spoke like me, southern accents and that. And he was just like, "Hello, my name's Hilton. I'm from Lancashire." And I just remember no one else spoke like that. But even to this day, the way he speaks cracks me up. And I've written this down because this happened on Sunday. We've started doing this thing where you do that WhatsApp video each other, just so you can.
Yeah.
Is it just called that WhatsApp? It's like FaceTime, isn't it? Whatever.
Yeah.
And he'd propped me up against the hob, like behind the hob, and he was cooking his tea while he was talking to me. And he said these words, and I've written this down because it just made me laugh so much. This is just the way he speaks. He went, "Oh no, hold on a minute, mate. My chicken's anemic. I need to elevate it to the top shelf." And I was just gone. I was just like, literally, he just talks like that. So for me, connecting with a person that you just find naturally funny. I'm not laughing at him, I'm laughing with him. Is a great thing to do. It can really make your day. It can really, really help you out. Anything else you wanted to add?
Just to echo what you've just said, really. If you see a monk on the bus, talk to him.
If your chicken's anemic, put it on the top shelf. So, thank you everyone for listening, and for all your positive comments on Twitter, both of you. You can follow me.
Mum and Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Mum. Thanks, Dad. You can even my brother and sister haven't even bothered. You can follow me at capital T Psychobabbler. And yeah, I think we should go and be nice to each other. So yeah, bugger off. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Chris.